Welcome back to the Sam JW channel. Oxford United have their second win under Gary Rowett, and only the second time Oxford have won back-to-back games. Let's have a conversation about Oxford's 2-0 win over Plymouth Argyle. So yes, Oxford pick up a 2-0 win against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle, and for the most part, you'd have to say this was one of the more comfortable wins Oxford have had this season. One or two asterisks on that, but we'll get to that in due course. Obviously the lineup, so Gary Rowett named an unchanged lineup to the side that beat Cardiff. That meaning, of course, Jamie Cumming started in goal, Sam Long and Greg Lee retaining their spots as the fullbacks, with Ciaron Brown and Elliot Moore as the centre halves. In the midfield, anchoring it are Vaulks and Cameron Brannagan, Ruben Rodrigues in the 10 with Tyler Goodrham on the left hand side and Shemmy Placheta out on the right. Mark Harris up top, looking to add to his goal against his boyhood club last time out. Obviously Plymouth, there are aspects of this side we know from obviously the season they won League One. Obviously Morgan Whittaker is the standout player, has struggled of course this season, and I would be very surprised if Morgan Whittaker got out of the January transfer window as a Plymouth Argyle player, because I just think, you know, for the most part the current direction of this squad is a very, very tough fight against relegation. They've already conceded over 50 goals this campaign, and that's a really, really shaky defence. And at the minute, with the manager they have in place, you know, it doesn't look like it's going to change. Wayne Rooney, as of talking, is still Plymouth Argyle manager. Seeing a lot of reaction online from Plymouth fans, you know, this all stems back to how they responded pretty much to Stephen Schumacher when he left for Stoke. Obviously they brought in Ian Foster, who'd been very successful with the England youth side but wasn't able to be so down in Plymouth. And of course they brought in Wayne Rooney in the summer, who had just come off the back of a horrific first half of the campaign with Birmingham when he replaced John Eustace. So yeah, a lot of questions being asked by the Pilgrims fan base in regard to their situation, kind of, you know, are they actually going to sack Wayne Rooney? From a selfish point of view, I'd like them to keep him in place until at least we play them on the 14th of January. But of course we're here to talk about Oxford's win, so let's talk about the first half stats. And like I said, very comfortable for the most part. And it was really interesting because at times under Des, it seemed these players were lacking confidence, especially towards the back end of his tenure. They seemed to lose any instinct to kind of look to progress the ball forward. And it's very odd because, you know, literally only a few games later, this first half, which was very, very comprehensive, obviously the goal comes from a beautiful bit of play. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we started pretty well. Weathered a little bit of a storm of one or two Plymouth chances. The biggest of Plymouth's chance, in my opinion, comes later in the half. But as you can see, just the sheer number of opportunities we're getting inside our opposition box this is a marked improvement over what we've been seeing, what we've been talking about in previous games. Goal comes, it originates from a corner kick that swung in by, I believe, by Tyler Goodrham on the left hand side. And it's repelled, but then it comes to Brannagan, who lifts it, tries to lift it to Shemmy Placheta, doesn't quite make it, so the Plymouth man nods it on, but then it falls brilliantly to Tyler Goodrham, who on the half volley makes the cross, and Ciaron Brown does really well because the ball's actually behind him and he kind of has to contort himself to reach it, knocks it past the man in the Plymouth goal to give the Yellows a 1-0 lead. And the chances just kept coming. I think is it this one from Mark Harris? There's a couple that Mark Harris, I think it might be this one. There's a really good bit of play where I believe it's played from Cameron Brannagan through to Ruben Rodrigues, and he takes a really good touch to put it past one of the Plymouth defenders, and then Harris has his shot brilliantly saved by the Plymouth keeper. Yeah, you know, I think Harris has two big opportunities. I think these two are probably counted as the big chances, but a number of big opportunities. There's one where Shemmy Placheta flashes it across the face of the goal. Chance after chance after chance coming from Oxford. This was kind of probably the best first half we've had of the season so far, and I think I'm including the Norwich game in that, because the reality is the Norwich, the first 15 minutes of the game were very, very shaky, but this one, for the most part, other than one or two blips, we were pretty good, we were pretty dominant. Just a shame we couldn't add the second goal, The main chance Plymouth have is, I believe it's this one here from this one here from is this one from Mumba. Essentially what happens is heavy touch from Sam Long in the midfield. It's latched onto, feeds up wide to Mumba. Mumba fizzes it back across, and Will Vaulks manages to get his toe onto it. It must be this one actually from Al Hadj, given where the block is. It takes a knock off of Will Vaulks, then bounces off the top of the crossbar. Really, really big block being made by Will Vaulks in another really, really good performance from the Welshman. I think Sam Long breathed a massive sigh of relief when he saw that his number 4 made up for his mistake. And that, as you can see, we limited the visitors to not an awful lot. They did have 2 of their 3 opportunities on target, but they were relatively well dealt with by Jamie Cumming and the Oxford defence. Like I say, even if we look at just the simple passing numbers here, 237 passes attempted, 198 completed, 84% pass completion rate. The visitors only completing 122 of their 168 attempted passes. Obviously a large amount of ours, over 135, are in our own half, but it's the way we're moving the ball. It's, instead of side to side passes like unfortunately became the regular towards the end of Dez's tenure, it's what we talk about a lot with passing from the back systems. It's moving the ball to the different flanks to try and find that opening. I think it's fair to say that this side looking so much more rejuvenated. I don't know if it's because I've heard there were 1 or 2 problems in the dressing room between Des and the players towards the end of his tenure. That's just a hearsay, I have to say. But whether it's a new head coming in, experienced championship head coming in, and whatever it is, it's working well for Oxford United. So the visitors do make a change at half time. They bring Caleb Roberts on to replace Al Hadj. Al Hadj obviously had that initial opportunity, but didn't do an awful lot else. First thing we should talk about of the second half is that Cameron Brannagan is a very lucky boy. He makes a challenge, essentially, so the ball has come across, it might be on the shot map here. It didn't surprise. Ball is fizzed across from the left-hand side, and I believe it's Gyabi, the Leeds man on loan at Plymouth, who I believe it's him, has gone towards the ball, try and create themselves an opportunity, and Brannagan has just bundled him over. Brannagan's a very, very lucky boy, because I've seen those given. Look, you can tell me in the comments whether you think that's a definite penalty, but I think Brannagan's a very lucky boy, because the referee waved it off immediately. I think we had the dreaded VAR, that might have gone, definitely got a review, might have even got awarded, but we survived that little scare. And obviously Plymouth, for the most part in the second half, they do get back into this this game. As you can see, they had a lot more shots, though, a lot from kind of not amazing range or amazing conversion rate for the visitors. They control slightly more of the ball, but look, second goal comes from on the transition. It's brilliantly played out through, I think it might have been Will Vaulks to Ruben Rodrigues, who stood right on the centre circle, and as 3 Plymouth players have basically sat on the centre circle, he plays the ball brilliantly to Shemmy Placheta, the man currently on amazing form, who just uses pace, blasts past the Plymouth man, takes it, I thought, a little bit wide. He takes it to this area of the penalty area, drags it back, and manages to hit it on the turn, beats the Plymouth keeper, and it's I think Shemmy Placheta is starting to enjoy life at Grenoble Road, suffice to say. Full credit to him for converting that opportunity, especially when it looked like he'd wasted it a little bit. I think, Shemmy Placheta is a man that is very much enjoying life under Gary Rowett. Even in the game where Gary wasn't in charge against Leeds, he looked, he had two very good opportunities that, if he had the goal scoring form that he showed in the last two games, we might have got a point out of Ellen Road. But he seems to be playing with a level of confidence. To Shemmy Placheta playing on this inside right winger is a stroke of, at the minute, tactical genius from Gary Rowett. Don't know what it is. He just seems to. He seems to be enjoying himself, and it's very interesting. We talked earlier in the campaign about how Shemmy Placheta at times looks scared to use his right foot. His assist for Sparky last week, that was on his right foot. A lot of moments in this game where he uses right to kind of keep the ball in touch and to feed it on to Goodrham or to Harris or Rodrigues. This man seems to be oozing confidence at the minute, and fair play. We love a redemption story at this football club. Full credit to Shemmy Placheta. Obviously only 2 games that impact's been shown at the minute, but fingers crossed he'll be able to continue it. Obviously we've got a very tough game on New Year's. We'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, that gets the 2-0 lead, pretty much secures the game. Gary Rowett spoke after this game that he was very, very much wanting the players not to essentially crumble in the last 15 minutes like they did against Cardiff. And they did, a couple of chances late on for the visitors. As you can see, a couple of blocks being made by Oxford men. And yeah, after this goal goes in, the visitors don't have an awful lot. 2 chances left for Brannagan. Randall with a shot way over the bar. And then the range by Gyabi and Whitcott, these come in from, is a bit ridiculous. I think it's very much hit and hope efforts from those 2 players. But yeah, the reality is that this was a pretty comfortable end to this game. Another 3 points, 6 from possible 6, and 2 massive points against fellow struggling teams. No doubt about it that these could be very important points towards the end of the campaign. Like I said, the away side definitely looked better with the ball in the second half. Just weren't able to do much with it. If we look at the overall player performances, Jamie Cumming obviously makes 1 or 2 really big saves, and other than that didn't have an awful lot to do. Second half obviously he made more of a had more to do with the number of chances that were coming in from Plymouth, but yeah, not an awful lot for Jamie to do. I'm sure he very much enjoyed it. Sam Long, I think Longy, there was 1 or 2 moments obviously when he gives the ball away in the first half shortly after Ciaron's goal. That was a little bit shaky, but I think he very much recovered in the second half, looked a lot better, and saw the game out. Very, very stable performance from Longy. Same could be said for Elliot Moore. We've talked about previously, I think the last 2 games has not been Elliot's best performances for Oxford. He looked a lot better today, or yesterday I should say. Very happy with Elliot's performance. Ciaron Brown, much like Shemmy Placheta, 2 goals and an assist in the last 2 matches. Who knew we were going to get a goal-scoring centre-half this season? But yeah, Ciaron's looked a lot more assured. Like I said, I thought he was the better centre-back last time out. And, very happy with Ciaron's performance there. Greg Lee, the same. Some really nice link-up play with Tyler Goodrham, with Brannagan during this game. And yeah, I think it's evident that the fact that Rowett is for the most part more structurally or more defensively solid than Des was, is really helping that back four. That being said, it is also obviously very interesting to note, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, these players playing with a lot more confidence. We're playing a lot more similar to the free-flowing attacking football that we're used to at this football club, that we thought might go out the window when Gary Rowett was appointed. But so far, he's stuck to the principles of this football club, and we're getting all the rewards. Will Vaulks, this was a fantastic performance from Will Vaulks. Obviously, Bale's longing out with that, with the block, and overall had a very, very steady performance, throwing himself into every challenge. Like, there were times where obviously the ball has come over from the opposite flank, from Mumba, from Galloway, and Vaulks, he's launching himself on those balls, going in high, trying to win it. He's getting involved. I'm not sure what Rowett said to him. I'm not sure if it's Brannagan's playing ever so slightly more reserved, but he's looking so much better as Will Vaulks in this setup. Brannagan, like I say, I think he's a bit lucky not to concede a pen, but I think someone in the stand said it, that Brannagan he's going under the radar a bit more, but I think that's to his benefit, because throughout Cam's time at this football club, when he stood out is when the rest of the team around him have been particularly crap. He always steps up when the rest of the team's levels drop, really below. We saw 22-23, for example. Cam was the man always, digging deep, trying to bring us out of those really tough moments, and the rest of the players were really underperforming. But in a side where everything else is going to plan, there's less need for Cam to have those goal-scoring, match-changing, game-winning impacts, which is really good to see, because, we love Cam. He's been a hero for this football club for, the vast majority of his tenure with us. It's good, for Cam to have a moment where, he's not having to be the man that rescues points for us. Rodrigues obviously gets the assist for Shemmy's goal. Really lovely bit of work in the first half with Sparky. Ruben looking back to his best. Goodrham, obviously, it's a fabulous assist for Ciaron Brown's goal. Half volley, sends it across. Our set pieces, they're back to looking so much better with him on them. Better than Brannagan, better than Vaulks, better than McEachran. It's a welcome change. Shemmy Placheta, we've already talked at length in this video about Shemmy Placheta, the revitalised Shemmy Placheta. He's got the sponsors man of the match in the last 2 games, and probably would get minor man of the match. It's very much nice for you to, like I said last video, nice for you to finally turn up, Shemmy. We're very much enjoying Shemmy's 2-goal spell so far. Hopefully he'll be able to carry that into subsequent games. And then Sparky wasn't able to get his goal, but back to working his socks off, which he didn't look like he was doing at times towards the end of Desi's reign. All these players, they look revitalised. I'm a little disappointed it's taken a change of manager for them to do that, but it's come at 2 games where we needed to get 6 points from 6, and thankfully have. Of the substitutes, 4 were used: Idris El-Mazouni, Matty Phillips, Hiderter Avest, and Dane Scarlett. Only really Idris and Matty were able to have any substantial impact on the game. As you can see, Hiderter Avest and Dane Scarlett only coming on with about 8 minutes to go, bearing in mind added time. El-Mazouni was a bit of a, I'm not going to say a passenger, but he was very quiet for the 20 minutes he was on the pitch. Matty Phillips, I've said it time and time again with Matty Phillips that I think he'd be fantastic as a proper number 10, because his footballing brain is superb. It's miles above so many other players in this squad. But the fact that his legs have gone, it means he's not able to beat his man. There was a couple of one-on-ones he had with Mumba that he wasn't able to beat him because he just didn't have, he doesn't have that pace anymore. Mumba, and I believe also their right back, Sorinalo. He wasn't able to beat them because just he hasn't got that pace. He's got the footballing brain, but he hasn't got the pace to beat them anymore. Yeah, I think that Owen Dale, I think Kyle Edwards, I think they deserve to come on more ahead of Matty Phillips, in my opinion. Looking at the table, we are exactly halfway through the campaign. We've played 23 of the 46 matches this campaign. We are 20th, 3 points above the relegation zone. We've got that cushion now. Obviously, a game in hand as well against Plymouth. Again, that like I said, we'll play on the 14th of January. Look, this is where we'll finish. We had dreams. Obviously, we were hovering around kind of 7th round at the top of the playoffs at the beginning of the campaign. That was always gonna fade away. We can reel in Stoke and QPR. If we win the game in hand, just theoretically that could take us up to around about where Derby are, kind of 17th, which is probably where most of us thought we'd finish, or hoping we'd finish at the start of the campaign. Obviously, half the season left to go, a lot of games left to play, and a very, very tough visit to Gary Rowett's former side, Millwall, on New Year's Day. The Den, and I'm sure a lot of us are going to have some very sore heads when we walk into that ground. Obviously, this place Rowett knows extremely well, having spent 4 years there. And they today just announced, I believe it's today, Alex Neil as their new manager. So hopefully the new manager bounce goes in our favour and not theirs. Let me know your thoughts on Oxford's 2-0 win against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle. And I'll see you for the review of the Millwall game. Hopefully I won't have too sore of a head after that.